You are listening to episode 226 of Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we beat the biggest bads in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So this week we played a little bit of Eldest Souls on the PlayStation 5, a boss rush action Souls-like game. But better than Eldest Souls is Barry, who is on the podcast this week.
Hey everybody, glad to be here once again.
Yay, Barry Week.
Barry, Barry, it's always fun to have you on. We'll definitely be talking about some State of Premium, your PS4 and PS5 releases that'll be coming out pretty soon. But before we dive into that, of course, remind the folks who you are and where you're from. If they haven't heard you, it's going to be new to them.
Yeah, sure. So if you've heard me before on Game Deflators or any other podcast, it's great to hear you or talk to you again, and hopefully you're not going crap. He's on here and turning off the episode. And if you haven't heard me before, my name is Barry Carranza. I am not only a game collector, game historian, but on top of that, I work with NintendoFuse.com, do a podcast over there every other Monday. I'm one of the founding members of Premium Edition Games, where we put out high quality physical releases of digital only titles. You can go to premiumeditiongames.com and check out what we have in stock as well as pre-orders right now.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, well, let's get started with our recent pickups and what we're currently playing. Ryan, I see you have NA noted here, so it'll just be Barry and I this week, it sounds like.
Yeah, this is a big, dull week for me. I haven't really played anything or bought anything. I honestly don't know what happened to this week, but it's already over.
I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, this week just kind of blew by. Like, I'm absolutely shocked. But what was it? Monday? Monday, I think I picked this up, which kind of shows how long ago that was for me, or Tuesday, I don't remember. But either way, right after work, I got a text from a guy that I bought a bunch of Xbox games and a bunch of Xbox 360 and Xbox One games from probably about a month ago. And in my last conversation with him, I said, hey, if you got anything else, because he said his son plays PS4 and other stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, he plays Wii as well, or he used to have a Wii console. And the game's around here somewhere. I said, all right, well, if you, keep my information, if you come across them at any point, let me know. So out of the blue, I get this message with a picture of a bunch of N64 games, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Yoshi's Story, Super Mario 64, everything just laid out. And a bunch of Xbox games and a bunch of GameCube games with 2 mystery boxes that did not have covers. I'm like, that's always fun, when you're going to do a pickup. And he said, hey, do you have any interest? I said, yeah, sure. What do you want for it? And he says, I don't know. He's like, just come on over here and we can go ahead and make an offer. I'm like, all right. So I'm looking at all the games. I said, realistically, what are you looking at? And he says, I don't know, $1 a game. I was like, I'm not going to give you $1 a game. I said, so I'll total it up. I gave him $2.50 a game. And I will tell you, a lot of the games that are on Xbox and GameCube are scratched. They do need to be buffed out, so it's going to increase the amount of money I'm putting out for each of those games. But still, I mean, those N64 games alone, quite a bit. Just the Conker's alone paid for everything. And I was happy with it. And I was like, all right, well, hey, it was great seeing you again. I actually, because his son is actually a big Spider-Man fan, apparently. Son is autistic, 30-year-old autistic guy, still lives at home and whatnot. And I had a Funko fabrication Spider-Man of his new inbox, and I had it listed online. I was like, what, I'll take that down and I'll bring it to him. I remembered a kid, not kid, but the guy liked Spider-Man. So I brought that for his son, and he's like, oh, he's going to love this, like absolutely love this. So cash, everything. And he's like, you know what? I'll be in touch with you. I know the Wii games are in the garage here somewhere. And he's like, I also have a bunch of action figures as well that we're looking to get rid of. I don't know what these action figures are. I don't mess with action figures, but I'd be curious to see what it is in addition to those Wii games and kind of go from there. But
I mean,
that
whenever anybody says we got action figures, you always cross your fingers and you're looking for Boba Fett, right?
he said they're here's
Rocket
the thing.
launching Boba Fett.
He said they're all sealed though. They're unopened action figures.
Ooh,
So, we could be looking at Power Rangers, which
maybe.
honestly might be pretty good. It's Power Rangers. I asked specifically if he had Ninja Turtles, and he said no. I was like, well, damn. Like that one, I would know, right? But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it is. It might be like a bunch of McFarlanes that aren't worth anything.
Now, John, you can't leave us hanging here. What were those mystery games with no covers?
Don't worry, I was going to get to that.
All right.
So one of them was Mario Party 5.
Very nice.
Very nice, right? And the other one, Ryan is super excited about this. Ryan had his new games resolution of the year was Pikmin. And I happened to go through the collection. We found out I didn't have Pikmin 1. Well, now I do. So Ryan got Pikmin to be able to play out of that collection as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was a great pickup. I mean, I would say a vast majority of titles I had already. So that's always a good sign for me as far as N64 is concerned. Xbox, I didn't have a lot of titles. So that was pretty cool. I got the Incredible Hulk game on there, an Indiana Jones game. I'm trying to think what else. A couple Xbox only exclusives at the time. And on the GameCube, I think X-Men Legends 1 and 2 are the ones I didn't have out of that collection.
Those are good.
Yeah, everything else I pretty much had. Oh, and Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks and Armageddon was also in that collection. So I kept both of those because I didn't have them yet. Everything else, like I said, it's scratched, needs to be buffed out. So I'll be putting like an extra $2-3 for a lot of those games to get them all cleaned up in the instance that they're heavier scratches. So we'll see how it goes. But that was my pickup this week. Oh, and I had one more. So the next day, I was on Marketplace, and this guy randomly put up a bunch of PS1 games. I was like, all right, let's see what this is. And it was a bunch of sports titles, except FIFA 1996, which is like a $15, $16 sports title. Resident Evil 2, complete in box. And then he had a demo CD for Jade Cocoon in there as well, which is actually a pretty oddball item. So I picked all that up for $60, and there were some other games that are like wrestling games and things of that nature. But the important thing, and the reason that this was actually a pretty big collection for me to pick up, was the guy actually buys storage units. And so he comes across these things all the time. And he said, hey, if you're interested in this type of stuff, let me take your number and I'll call you in the future whenever I have video games. So he goes out, he buys a storage unit. Oh, John comes in with this guy that is just looking to quickly offload storage unit stuff and buying it up. So just another connection for future game collecting. So we'll see what happens.
It's always nice when they actually call, you get those repeats.
Yeah, exactly. I've got another guy that I'm pretty sure he's a crackhead, but he also buys storage units, and I follow him on OfferUp. So whenever anything comes up, I'll message him. He hasn't messaged me in a while, and he hasn't posted on OfferUp in a while either. So would not surprise me if he's on some sort of binge or if he's dead. Or in jail. Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Turned morbid really quickly.
Dude, I mean, look, the guy was like tweaking when I went out there last time. I picked up Parasite Eve 2 from him, disc only, for like $2.
Wow.
Like, it was insane. Yeah, like
I used to have this guy who did storage units, and I was on his call list. I was his number one, and I would go over to his house and he'd show me all the stuff he got. It was nice for a while, but the problem with that is once you stop buying everything, they find somebody else. And he started being like, here's what I got. And I'm like, I don't need all this crap. And he's like, well, I want this much money for it. And I'm like, I don't need it. And your price is high. I don't want to buy it. And then suddenly he found someone else that would take it. And then they got the phone calls and I stopped getting the calls. So you got to watch about that. That's
no. Dude, I know about that. Like, I've had it in the past. And even this guy, like, he messaged me and said, hey, I've got a bunch of Atari games. I'm like, oh God, like, I'm already trying to get rid of some of my Atari games. He had Mario Brothers, and Mario Brothers, I think he was like, yeah, I'll take $10. And I saw it listed for 25 on his page. I'm like, okay. And he had like several like other Atari games. And I'm like, I didn't even bother. I'm like, I have all of those, and obviously he'll go to somebody else or he'll list them, and they'll sit and they'll sit and they'll sit and they'll sit, and nobody will buy them. And he apparently runs a business out of a flea market in Phoenix. So they're going to go to his flea market spot regardless. I'm not too concerned with him calling other people, for gaming stuff. But the fact that I am one of his now frequent buyers, according to him, there is a chance for phone calls and such in the future. So,
and if you stop getting them, just give a call every once in a while and go, "Hey, haven't heard from you in a while.
yeah,
Anything
no,
good?"
dude, I'm right on it, man. Don't worry. The crackhead is actually the one that for sure I was like, hey, you got anything new? And he had messaged me about, oh yeah, I just got a bunch of loose games and I got N64 controllers and such. I'm like, all right, I'll meet you at whatever location. And I think I spent like $25 of them that day and got a bulk of the stuff, and I educated him on what was third party versus what was OEM, so he kind of knew. And to kind of give my reasoning as to why I wasn't interested in certain games and whatnot. So, yeah, always fun. As far as what I'm currently playing, I am continuing to grow the factory in Factorio. So we are playing that. We are enjoying it. We are getting killed by aliens on a consistent basis, but we are also mining our uranium so we can make nuclear weapons to destroy all the aliens in the game. So I don't know, Barry, if you played that one or not, but
No.
It's a blast. It's like SimCity meets StarCraft.
Oh, nice.
And like resource management. It's crazy. I like it. And that one's on PC. So the other game that I'm playing is Cardia. That is my new games resolution. And Ryan, I think I'm on chapter 14 last time I checked.
Okay.
On that. So chapter 14 out of 17 for the first half of the game. And then I'll be diving into the second half to play that part of the story. And hopefully I can beat it. It's agonizing how long this game takes between scenes. I mean, it's easily every chapter is like an hour for sure. And if you're only getting like, and predominantly because of the battles would take so long, Barry. I mean, a tactical based RPG is already long enough. And I was telling Ryan, like, the game for me is sitting at like a 6 out of 10. It's like an 8 when it comes to the actual story. It's like a 4 when it comes to the battling, because of like just how gruelingly long it is. I mean, why do I need to face 20 enemies to progress through the story in a tactical based RPG? It's baffling. It's just so much battle. And it's not like, oh, take out this one person. No, it's like take out all of the bugs, take out all of the thieves, and also take out the big baddie at the end. Or when you do have the big baddie at the end, it's like, well, we're going to surround you by like 30, 40 enemies. So you have to get through to be able to get to the end boss, and he's not moving an inch. So you have to battle your way through anyways, or guess what? You're going to die if you're not strategic about it. So.
No, I hear you with that. I'm not a big strategy RPG guy, but I did do like Fire Emblem Engage, and the main reason I was able to do Engage, because I like the story, is there's the auto battle. And there were some battles where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep hitting auto battle and see if my guys can do it. And sometimes they got stupid, and I'm like, all right, no, hold on, rewind, and let's do this properly. But does this game have an auto battle to help, or you have to do everything?
No, not even. Not only does it not have an auto battle, but it has if you're one of your main characters, not your main character, but if any of your main characters dies in battle, there's no revive option. They're dead. Battle restarts, so you go right to the beginning of a battle. Now, the cool thing, though, is you could save in the middle of the battle. So that is kind of a benefit. If I'm like half asleep, I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to have to get through the rest of this. I could save it at that point. I can revisit the battle midway through, and we're all good. I don't miss anything in the story. I don't have to progress. Now, if I get past the battle, then it goes into story mode for however long. If I'm half asleep, that's an issue. And then I can save after the fact. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's one to give a shot to. Like if you've had your eye on it, I would definitely say play it through just to get the experience and see what it's about. But I don't know if I can highly recommend it just based on that battling alone.
You reminded me, John, I did play some game this week, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I played some more Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh,
nice. All right.
Like, I'm playing that emulated on the mini PS1, and I don't understand how people could actually play that game without save states. Like, I'm abusing save states like crazy to get through it, and like some of the platforming and stuff is just like infuriating. Like, if you had to fall all the way down every time and climb your way back up, I would have given up on this game like decades ago.
It is a tougher one for sure.
Yeah.
I never beat it when I tried it on the PS1, and it was infuriating.
Yeah, I just like, and some of the Like I was doing this one boss battle this week, and you only really get like one hit in on the guy per cycle, and he just does so much damage to you. I was just like, I'm not even gonna bother with this. Just brute force, save state. If I get damage, just reset, keep moving forward with like perfect health, because it's like I've only got so many health items and I'm not going back to the town before the end of the game, so I gotta just do what I can here.
Oh, it's always fun to play games like that.
Yeah,
So happy I'm not playing it, but I want to.
Yeah, your frustration reminded me of my frustration.
Oh, there we go. Barry, how about yourself this week?
So for pickups outside of the usual, what comes out on Switch, which I get, like we were talking before the show, a lot of my focus has been changed from what I used to do, like the yard sales, the storage pickup, stuff like that. Now I really try and get what I call museum pieces that pop up every so often, stuff that's just has a story, something unique, something different. And that's really where I put my money. And I've been talking with this guy, and he had some items. I was like, these are really cool. So we got to talking, and these are items that there's no price charter, there's no eBay. What he had 35 millimeter film commercials for game stuff. The actual reels, some of them sealed, that were sent to publications, sent to movie theaters, sent to, the commercial or TV studios to run different game ads, and they're from the 64 era, the 3DS, even N64, even the Super Mario Brothers movie, the original 1993 one, the actual trailer film, the 35 millimeter. So I'm like, these are really cool. These are something that you just don't see. So I was talking with him, and I was like, he wanted a lot for him. I was like, can I justify that? I got a kid on the way and everything like that. So we got to talking, and we settled on a price that we both were happy with, and I picked up the entire lot, and they came in. So unfortunately, they came in and they're just like wrapped in bubble wrap, and that's it as is. So I actually found some like plastic protectors for them, which I ordered and haven't come yet, that I'm gonna put them in, that are made for 35 millimeter, and that way I could be like, here, check it out. Because I don't want anyone to touch them right now. It's film, so they're just kind of sitting. But I thought that was kind of cool, something you just don't see every day. And
what did he originally want for him?
He wanted $8,000 for the lot of 14 different ones.
Jeez. Did you get the Smash Bros commercial where everybody's fighting in the suits?
No, that would be cool. So I got Donkey Kong 64. I got Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I got 2 different GameCube ones. Game Boy Color, the black and white trailer. Pokemon X and Y's trailer. New Super Mario Wii U trailer. 2 different Zelda Majora's Mask trailers. One that's called Boy, which is the live action one, and another one that's called Alone. But this one is the big money one because it doesn't appear to be digitized at the moment. Ooh. So this one may never, it was never saved. So I got to do some research into that and see about digitizing it. But I'm still leaving it in a bubble wrap right now until I used to get the paper. But that one's really cool. If that's the case, who knows how many copies of that exist. The Super Mario movie, like I mentioned, and then some PlayStation ones, one from 1998, PS2 one called Elevator, and an Activision one that's labeled Gun.
If you digitize the Zelda one, I'm calling Nintendo.
DCA'd.
I don't know if that the protocol of these things normally supposed to be thrown out, or they're supposed to be sent back to Nintendo. I mean, this Sony one's what Sony's doing with Activision, stuff like that. But it was really cool that he had them, and
that's so different.
Exactly,
you never really see something like that, and that's like, I mean, especially if it's something that you really like. I mean, Majora's Mask is an easy one to like latch on to and identify with. Like, who knows what's in Gun, but there could be cool stuff in there, and like it's all about that preservation aspect that you're kind of going with. Like some of that is some real things that like not that many people have, and it's good to know somebody who cares about it actually has their hands on it.
Well, that's why I call them like museum pieces. Like they're stuff that I want to put on display and look into. And I was thinking about getting like a little like a cheap tablet and finding all the actual trailers for what they are and putting them on the tablet. So in display, it's like here you can see them, because I'm not going to get like a 35 millimeter real projector to in the setup. But this way, it's like here's the digital versions of them, but actually have the actual reels on display.
But what if it's a Nintendo branded 35 milliliter projector?
I don't 35
millimeter.
Milliliter.
Milliliter, right? Yeah, there you go.
I don't think there is such a thing, but if there is such a thing, then yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then you play them all the time.
Then I wouldn't play them all the time. I would play them when people came over. I wouldn't want it to wear out.
Was it The Simpsons that had like it was a 35 millimeter reel and it like burned up or something?
Yeah.
I just see like that happening to Barry. Like, oh, check out all my Nintendo videos and.
so yeah, that was my major pickup. It was just something really cool, and again, that's really where my attention goes to the stuff that. Hey, this doesn't come up often. This is what I like to call rabbits. It's like the time to shoot a rabbit is when you see it, and those are what I like to tell my wife. Like these are rabbits. Like the time to go for this is now, because if I don't get this, there's probably not going to be another time, or it's going to be years later.
Well, that's how I was with that big collection I bought. God, you've seen it, the one that was like Nintendo games and Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Stacked, right? That was a big one, but like I got that at like 50 or 60% of market value is what I got that at. Exactly. Still, right? But that's one of the situations is like, man, like, do I want to put that money towards it? I probably shouldn't, but that's a lot of stuff. And if I don't get it, somebody else is going to get it.
Act now.
That mentality, if I don't get it, someone else is going to get it, is the most dangerous mentality when collecting ever. It's like if you see something like on eBay that you're interested in and you're like, maybe, I don't know. If that thought enters your mind that all it takes is one person out of the billion on this planet to say, I want that too, and click buy it now, only one, you lose out on it, is a very, very dangerous mentality.
I will say, though, I was in the middle of negotiating with this guy and I dropped him down like $2,400. So, I mean, it's one of those situations like, I just dropped you like 50% of what you were asking overall here. And you're willing to make the deal right now. And he did seem kind of hesitant as well. And even when I got there, he was like, man, I really don't want to sell it for, that much. I'm like, well, would you do this? And instead, like I lowered him even more on the fly. And he was like, yeah, okay. Like I'll do that. Like, it seems like you'll appreciate the games, and they're still upstairs. Obviously I haven't done anything with the most of them, but there's a lot of titles I didn't have. And it was nice to pick up that collection. And the point of like somebody else will do it. We have a lot of people out here in Arizona that are doing game hunting. I mean, more so than anywhere else I've lived. It's just ridiculous.
Come here.
Oh, what in Jersey? Really? It's that bad?
Oh, it's North Jersey. Yeah, it's right outside the city. It's tons of people.
It's ridiculous. Like, dude, I'll go into my Goodwill right around the corner. There's like 4 or 5 resellers that come in every single day right after me. The key thing is right after me.
That's why I stopped doing a lot of that, because I would go to garage sales and I would have people take games out of my hands, literally just rip out of my hands. I had one estate sale where a guy tripped me going up the stairs to get to the games. I had one garage sale that I went to that there was all these people lined up, and the woman was like, 9:00 is the start time, and it was like 8:30, and everyone's like waiting, and she's like, I'm not letting anyone in until 9:00. You might as well go. So I left, went to another sale with one of the people following me. I got to the sale, got a game. He left. I wound up going back to that sale. I was the only one to return. I returned at 9:00. And I got all the games. She was like, thank you for coming back. I appreciate that. I said, I understand. And I'm sorry that everyone was hounding. I'm sorry if you felt I was hounding.
So I went yard selling the other day, and somebody had a GameCube and they had a Wii and a whole bunch of games, right? And a guy had already beaten me to it. And I heard him make the offer of like $50 for everything. I'm like, man, part of me wants to be like, I'll give you 100. But at the same time, I wouldn't want that happening to me.
Karma.
Yeah. So it was like... Now I
Well,
just
see,
got to let
at
this one
least you
go.
were there. I've gone to ones where the yard sale starts at 8:30 or 9. Like say it starts at 9, I get there at like 8:30. I try to always be respectful of their time, and I see them setting up, so I ask, and they say, "Oh, someone came by at 6:30 this morning, rang the doorbell, and bought everything." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like that's ridiculous!" Like that's why I'm like, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
whatever deal I'm gonna get isn't worth my time, effort, aggravation. It used to be a fun thing for me. It's no longer fun. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh look, I finally found a Wii game. Great. Like I have the Wii set. I don't need another, Hello Kitty on the
Well,
Wii. Or actually, those are kind of expensive.
the
But
karma thing's a good point actually, because like the next day or like 2 days later, I picked up all those N64 games. Like so yeah, I missed out on that GameCube and whatever else was in there. I know there was like a Mario DDR. That's the only thing I saw. I didn't see anything else. I don't know if anything else was good in there. Um, but that's all I saw. And $50 and just know, you know what? It's not for me. I'm just gonna go on. And then I get the call a couple days later and there you go. More games. So
that's a very healthy attitude.
I
yeah,
feel
so it
like
worked out.
the sweet spot for collecting is like right in the middle, because if you're brand new to collecting, you're going to go out and you're just going to find, like maybe a couple things that are cool, but a lot of it is going to be kind of like some bulk stuff that maybe you're really not that interested in. And then on the other end, you've got it where you already have everything. Most of that stuff you're picking up, like John, you're just picking it up to flip and turn into other games that you can buy yourself online. But right in the middle is the part where you're like, okay, I want everything because I don't have it. And I'm not going to get rid of much of it either.
Yep.
You kind of have that like full on only collecting and acquiring phase in the middle.
You know what? That's when I was doing my garage sailing. I would go out every weekend and I would just get bulk lots after bulk lots of PS2, a lot of PS2, Wii, GameCube, PS1, N64. Got tons, tons and tons and tons of it. And most of it I needed, or it was an upgrade to what I previously had. But I'm lazy, so I still have boxes of the stuff that I got from then just sitting there. Like these are all doubles. These are ones I don't need, but I'm just too lazy to list them online. So they
Yeah,
just sit
I am frequently listing online. I think I've got 70 items up right now. I've sold 90 something in the last 30 days. Really what I'm trying to do like at night is I'll list 4 or 5 items, and that's just what I do. And then I'll get to my video games. There are things that I want to do, but I'm like, I have got to get rid of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And listing locally as well. But dude, locally, like I've got a 250 gig 360 Elder Scrolls Morrowind and a whole bunch of other titles that came out of that collection the other day. I've got it up for $100. First guy to message me says $50. I'm like, the Xbox alone I could sell right now and make $50 net. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you never can sell things locally. Like, it's
Well,
impossible.
see, now I can't get mad at that because I've done that too. That's a strategy I've done. I always shoot low. I always,
But yeah,
whenever saying, I go, hey, I want to gauge what someone's parameters are. And there are plenty of times where I've shot low and they said, yes, sure. And
yeah,
I've gotten. So because it's worked for me, I have done that. And if they don't respond, then I'm like, all right, that was too low. Or if they say no, then I would go, what about 75? Would you do that
yeah.
or something? And that's when I start the negotiation.
And see, my thing is like the value of all of that was like 150. So I'm already $50
Of
lower
course. But they
than what it's
don't
supposed to be.
know that
I
you
know
know that.
that's true. Well, except for the fact that I mentioned that I know that
Oh,
that
well,
this
then
is
no.
valued at whatever, and I'm selling it for 100, and they come
See,
in
okay.
anyways $50.
See,
Yeah,
if you put that already, then that changes it. But a lot of times, they may not read that. They might just see the lot, see $100, and just not read your description and just blindly, would
yeah,
you do 50?
true.
So
Yeah,
there's
yeah, I
always
get
other
it.
sides.
I get it. Um, it is what it is, at that point, and that's kind of why I sell exclusively on eBay at this point. Because yeah, I just hate dealing with local. Now, occasionally you'll get a collector on local. Like I sold a manual for Batman and Robin on
Nice.
the Super Nintendo to a guy, and he happened to want Marvel versus Capcom as well. And I gave him a good deal, because he was willing to pay close to, what I was wanting. And so I worked with him. But like other people are just like, yeah, I'll lowball you like 75% over like the actual value that you have noted here. It's ridiculous.
Have you ever thought about like going to maybe like a local gaming store and seeing if they would do a trade?
Uh sometimes, but like because I kind of have my rule of like I won't pay any more than like 60% of something's retail value. If I go to a game store, oftentimes if I'm to go there, they're going to give me 60% or less. So it's not like I'm making
Making
anything on
anything.
it. It's
Yeah.
yeah, so it just doesn't work out.
I just meant like a one for one, like some stores, like for example,
Gotcha.
if you have like you said Mario Party 5, like if you go to a store and they're like, oh, I have, let's say, Little Samson, just obviously it's a big game, it's harder for them to find a buyer for a big title like that, like an expensive title,
True.
versus a lot of cheaper, more desirable titles. And I've
That's
seen
true.
people say like, oh, this $1,000 game, I'll trade it for $600 or $700 worth of Mario games because they know they can move those Mario games way easier than they can move the big expensive thing.
Yeah, that's a good
That's super
point.
smart.
Yeah, and on top of that, they on that in the example of $1,000 game, they probably only have $500-$600 in it anyways,
Correct.
plus the markup of whatever they're yeah, so they're kind of breaking even or splitting that up. I get yeah, that's a good point. I should look into that.
So
That might be
especially
an
if you have
option.
some really good titles, you can go in to a store and say, "Look, you have this. Would you accept a trade of these other games?" You're going to find buyers for these games way easier than you will for this one particular,
Yeah.
higher value game.
The argument could be made that sometimes those games are sitting there though as pieces to draw in people as
True.
well. So
Absolutely.
that also is part of that.
Yeah, so you have to that's where talking with the owners and getting to know them, making friends with them.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before.
Yeah. Well, I guess we had an impromptu discussion topic
Impromptu,
there.
yeah. Uh,
Um,
I was
go
gonna
on,
say,
go.
just you mentioned what are we playing? I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2 right now, trying to
Very
finish it
nice.
up before Trails into Azure comes out on Tuesday. And I don't know if you played the first Octopath or the second. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I have the first one. I haven't played it yet. It is on the list.
They've improved a lot from the first one. The biggest complaint
Nice.
that people have with the first one is that it's almost like 8 RPGs because each of the 8 characters have their own story. It's
Oh,
you're doing it all together, but
oh,
each
okay.
story is segmented. So you're carrying the experience over. You're think about like an open world RPG style, but oh, you go to this town, oh, now you're picking this character's story and you're playing through that character. None of the other characters in your party appear outside of battle. It's just that character. It's the same in Octopath 2, except they have party dialogue like the trails or the Tales of games. So they'll talk to each other, and then there's stories that combine multiple characters to deal with situations and scenarios. Otherwise, there is still kind of separate, but the stories have an overarching narrative, and I believe it's going to lead to something bigger when I finish all 8. I'm on number 7 of 8 now. And I will say the stories do not pull punches. Like there's some villains in this that are just downright evil. Like holy crap, I can't believe the Square. It's like Super Nintendo era Square. Like things like murdering children, brainwashing children, murdering spouses, killing fathers, torturing people, tormenting people, jail, like psychological. Oh my god, like this is really deep stuff from Square. So if you haven't played it, you don't need to play the first one either. They're separate games. But it is so good. The battle system is so good. It's a mix of like Bravely Default with the break system, and the break system is just so genius. And like each character has unique abilities. And the first game had this too. And I love this. I wish more series did this, where some characters can like you can grab NPCs just in town and bring them along to battle with you, just like you're coming with me. You can interrogate them and find out what secret information they know, maybe about hidden items, or it can tell you how to get a discount at the inn. You can steal items from them. Just literally, you could just walk up to an NPC and steal their items, or you could barter for their items. There's different ways to do it. It's just really cool. Like I like the way they do it. And if you're in for a good, beautiful, HD 2D RPG, highly recommend.
Nice. That one is on my list, and also in a similar type of or similar type of game would be I Am Setsuna and Lost Sphere. Those
Yes,
are also on my list. Yeah,
I Am Setsuna is good.
yeah, very nice. Well, let's dive into State of Premium. We need to hear directly from the source. What's going on? What can people expect? And yeah, I mean, it's exciting stuff. Ryan and I both watched a State of Premium from, I think it was a week ago that you guys did it, maybe 2
2
It's on
weeks.
the
2 weeks
22nd.
ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
23rd. Yeah, 22nd it was. Yep.
Yeah. Lay it on us, man.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed. That was a fun thing to put together. Though it was actually a lot of that was supposed to be in the fall direct, but we cut it out of the fall direct to make it its own thing. It was funny. Some people didn't know what it was going to be. They're like, "Oh, is this just going to be like information and updates?" And I'm like, "No, it's for PlayStation." Like they didn't get the joke I was going with it. And then people like, "Oh, I get it now." Like, "Oh, yeah, state of play." But so we announced no last October, we announced that we were going to PlayStation. We're going to do some PlayStation stuff. We finally revealed our first series of titles. So our first series of titles is 3 titles, but I had to actually put an asterisk now in that because something happened, which I'll talk about. So the first title is Phoenotopia Awakening, which was one of our darlings that we did on Switch back in Series 3. We're honored to be able to bring that to the PlayStation family. It's on PlayStation 4. We've got a lot of people saying, why on PlayStation 5? And the answer to that is the game's not on PlayStation 5. We're not porting it to PlayStation 5. We're just putting out the physical version of the version that exists on PlayStation 4. But good news, you can put that in your PlayStation 5 and play it. So that's the reason. But we're honored to be able to bring this out. This is just an absolute excellent action RPG. It's like Zelda 2 done right. We've said it's like 80 hours. It's an incredible experience from Cape Cosmic. This one's ported
Gorgeous
by
art.
gorgeous. Oh, it's become our darling. Like so many people see like 3 seconds of the trailer and they just throw money at us at shows. Like, yep, absolutely. So this one's out now for pre-order. It hasn't gone to production yet. We're still seeing how many we're doing. But one thing we're doing with PlayStation is we're only doing one version for right now, and that's a steelbook. We're doing a steelbook edition. So each of these games comes in a beautiful steelbook with a O sleeve on the outside with the game art. Inside is the game on disc, the full game, as well as a full color manual, our challenge card, which is going to have like a metallic sheen, like a foil, as well as the soundtrack. We're putting the soundtrack in a dust sleeve inside. We want to make it as premium as possible. And what we're doing with the challenge cards, with our Switch versions, we ask the developers to give us a challenge. We put that on there. You complete it. We mail you the patch. With PlayStation, it's the Platinum Trophy. So if you get the Platinum on the game, which the developers have already put out there, we will mail you a premium Platinum Trophy patch as our way of saying congratulations. So there's definitely a big group of trophy hunters. This gives you an extra incentive to go ahead and do that. The second title that will be going up Monday, in just a couple days from the time of this recording, will be Music Racer Ultimate, and we're doing that on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This is a game I think a lot of people haven't heard of. This is an incredibly fun rhythm game, and it's not racing as in racing other racers. It's like, think about a car on like a guitar rift or guitar hero, and you have to go into the right lane to hit each of the notes. The good news is that even if you miss notes, the song doesn't stop. So you can keep going and you can keep practicing. It's got, I think, 27 or 30 tracks, techno tracks on it that are really, really cool. But there's also a server you can connect to on the PlayStation versions of this game to download music that people upload, as well as the ability to import your own music. And the tracks, you get to pick a bunch of different things, 14 different backgrounds for each of the tracks, but then the track itself is actually done on the fly based on the music. So you can put in your favorite song, it's going to generate a track for that song and allow you to race in different modes. Like you could race with obstacles, you could race more zen where there's no obstacles, really whatever you want to do. And there's a progression system. So as you earn points, the better you do, you get these points that you can not only unlock new backgrounds, but you could also unlock new cars. And there's a bunch of new cars, and there's a bunch of cars from other properties. So there's a light cycle from Tron, complete with the line. There's a DeLorean from Back to the Future. There's Kit from Knight Rider. Like there's a bunch of these really cool things they threw in there. It's a lot of fun. It's infinite replay because you could just keep putting your own music in. I'll tell you this, it looks great in PS VR 2 because I was playing it on PSVR 2 in the cinema mode. It looks fantastic. Just
So does your version have PSVR compatibility?
there's
I would
no
imagine
there's
it
no
does.
VR compatibility. It's cinema. You can play any game in the VR.
Okay.
So it's not actually VR. It's just like a giant screen in front of you. It's called cinema mode. So you can play any game that
Gotcha.
way. But when you play
Nice.
it, like it looks really cool in the VR too. But it looks great on the TV as well. And it does have haptic feedback on PS5. So as you hit the notes and stuff, like you feel it. And as you get into that rhythm, it's really cool. And then the third game is Rack and Ruin, which was part of our Series 4. This is an action adventure like a Link to the Past, but with the humor of Invader Zim, where you get to play the villain, destroying the world and corrupting it, and just having fun, and like all the temples and the castles or the dungeons, if you will, are actual like peaceful areas, and you're like barging in, destroying them, and they're just trying to stop you, as opposed to like being the hero going in. And I did mention there's little asterisks, and the reason for that is Rack and Ruin was supposed to be out next week, but we actually had to put it on hold. And the reason we had to put it on hold is because it was brought to our attention that there is apparently a bug in the game in the PlayStation version only, not the Switch version, only the PlayStation version. And the bug only affects a trophy. It doesn't affect the gameplay at all. It affects the trophy. Um, and because we're doing the patch, we brought it to the attention and we said we want to make sure this is the complete version properly done. Then the developer is going to be going back. They can't do it instantly, but they will be going back and patching it. And once it's patched and done, obviously it's going to affect the digital version. So all the digital gamers will get that patch done for you. You're welcome. And then that's the version. When that's done, we're going to put it up as a physical. So we didn't want to release it, take people's money, find out about it afterwards, have to reprint discs, send it out. We wanted to catch this early, and we want to be transparent. We're doing this because we want to release a proper full product. So that's what we're doing, and that's why there's been a little bit of a hold. It's out of our hands, but we are talking with the developer, and we want to make sure that your guys, everybody, that is getting the best version. That being said, it doesn't affect the Switch version at all because the Switch doesn't have trophies, and the Switch version will be actually getting in hand this next week. So that will start shipping for those that pre-ordered, and if you didn't, it'll be going back on the website so you can grab the Switch version of that. So
Nice.
there's that little bit of caveat. And then you mentioned, of course, our first Series 2 PlayStation title, Bot Gaiden. Really happy to be working with East Asia Soft and Sword Swipe Studios on this. This game is it's so much fun. It's Mega Man meets Ninja Gaiden in like a hand-drawn art style. Uh, it's cool because like Mega Man, each time you beat the boss, you don't get the weapon, but based on how fast you beat the level, you get a permanent upgrade. So if
Ooh.
if you beat it like the slowest, you get an extra life. So instead of starting with 3 lives, you start with 4, and that's a permanent. So cool, you get an extra chance. But then as you beat it with a silver time and then a gold time, you can get like super overpowered, which is a lot of fun. And there's different ways to do it. So the game is structured based on speed running. So every time you get hit, you lose your power ups, but you collect the power ups in an order. And when you have all the power ups, when you collect a new one, it gives you hyper speed, so you go through faster because it uses not only are the times important for you to get that gold medal to get the permanent upgrades, but when you start the level, the bosses start with 0 HP, and as you're racing through the level, you
Oh.
see the boss's HP bar filling. So the faster you get to the boss, the easier
The
they are to
faster.
kill because they have less HP. So it's constantly sitting, and the slower it takes you, then the more HP they have. So it's constantly like you got to learn the levels, and every time you get hit, you power down. So you want to get better at the game so you don't power down. But there is a casual mode where even if you get hit, you don't lose power. So if you're like, oh, I'm not that good, you could play casual, get power ups, and then start getting faster and better times and stuff like that. It is a lot of fun, and we're really excited to be bringing that to PlayStation 4 and 5. That is coming out in the next series, which will be later this year.
That sounds
Very
awesome.
nice.
And the trailer for
Yeah.
that was like really like eye-catching. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, what is this?"
That's why we had to leave it as the one more thing.
Yep, yep. The hype button. Gotta love it.
Gotta love that hype button.
Nice. Well, thanks for the update, man. Definitely excited to see what y'all are putting out, and can't wait to see what Series 2 brings
Oh,
beyond Bot Gaiden.
we have, I'll say this, 2023 is already full. Like we're still talking with developers, we're still meeting with developers, and we're talking 2024 games at this point because 2023 is
Nice.
already full with so many great games. And I will say we have it's being worked on right now. A new premium direct is coming soon. So that will be out, and that will be talking Series 6 for Switch. And got some really cool stuff in Series 6.
Now, I have a quick question,
Yeah.
and we can remove this if we need to afterwards if it's something you don't want to answer. But when it comes to the titles, and you mentioned, bringing in titles into 2024 and such, like
Mhm.
talking about it right now, is there a reason that you guys aren't putting out more titles during each of these directs? Is it more of a capacity issue? Is it more so wanting to ensure that certain titles are getting that love each season? What's kind of the reasoning behind that?
That's a great question, and that is actually it. We are going slow, and we always tell people we're going slow because we want quality over quantity, and we don't want to just regurgitate titles every week or every other week. Um, unless we really shooting for it. And we switched our schedule, our release schedule, to being on an every other week with like this series as opposed to all at once, because we noticed when we do all at once, some people will just come there and then they'll leave, and we're like, well, not everybody can go that one day or they won't see, so we want to. And it's also putting out 2 or 3 titles all at once. It doesn't highlight them. So by doing it like every other week, like this series, we're doing PlayStation. We talked about Phenotopia, we gave it some love, and now our marketing was about Phenotopia, and now our marketing is switching. Now if you go to like our Twitter and stuff, we're switching to Music Racer. We're talking about that because that's coming out next, and we're going to give that attention. And we're gonna do something all the time based on whatever we're putting out, and we want to give them that attention because there's nothing worse than working your heart in your soul into a video game, and then to get it physical is great, but just to be put out there and then forgotten about, or moved on, or passed over like a blink or a snap, and it's like, wait a minute, but my game is so good, why aren't you talking about my game? And we want to continue to talk about those games. So we're also a smaller studio, the so we have a great number of designers, but you also have to remember all of our releases aren't just, I mean, if we were just doing the disc or the cart with a outer sleeve with no inlay, and that was it, we could definitely go faster, of course, because that takes no time. But we have to get art for the slip covers. We have to write the manuals. Each of our manuals are 20 to 40 pages. We got to write the manuals. We got to do the challenge card. We got to figure out artwork for the patches and have the patches printed. We've got the sleeve as well. We've got all these components coming from different faculties being shipped in. We want to take our time with it. We want to do it right, and our art isn't repeated. If our art was repeated, that'd be another way we could cheapen it out, but it's not. We get different artists for different games. Sometimes we use the art that's provided by the studio, which is great. That does help it out. But a lot of times we also get commissioned art. And then with Switch, like we do the retro box, which has extra stuff in it, and every game gets a retro, and we try and do cool things to make it fun for those that want to collect all of them. Again, different art, and it's we usually try to do the CD, but then what else do we do? And it's different per game, and then we got to, like the keychain for Phenotopia, we got to source that. And we did a comic book for Rack and Ruin that's coming out. It's got an awesome comic book that the creator went back and did a new story for with Sean Daly, who did the music for Super Blood Hockey and the comic for Super Blood Hockey. We didn't have to go and do that, but we said what would be really cool to add. So we wanted to do that. So that's one of the reasons we go slow, because we want to do really cool things. There's so many games out there. I mean, you could release a game every day right now, and you still would have years worth of trying to release all the digital stuff because they're just constantly coming out. So we want to give each of the releases something special, the time, the attention, and we also don't want to overwhelm people's wallets, because if there's so many full set collectors, I'm one of them, you know, and I know if you're a full set collector, especially a subset like all of a certain company, if you have releases every week, that hurts your wallet. I mean, there's no way around it. So if it's like, oh, you have a release every other week, every couple months as a release, or series of releases, it's a lot more digestible and you can budget it. And we're seeing people, do that, and they want to collect the set because of that, because it's not breaking the bank, and it's a little more predictable. And because we only release certain titles, like, about every year, that they're good, because we have to curate every title. We turn down titles. I hate doing it, but sometimes we have to turn down titles or pass, or say, maybe down the road. But all the titles we release are titles we fall in love with as a team. We just play and we're like, oh my God, yes, we want to introduce this to the world. So if you're buying one of the titles, that it's been curated. It's been, it's hit our standard. Like the Nintendo seal of quality, they used to mean something. That's the premium seal of quality, that we were actually putting it out. And you know what? The thing that sucks is sometimes people say, oh, this game doesn't look good, or this game isn't fun. And not every game's for everybody, and that's unfortunate. But give every one of them a chance, because we saw people go like, oh, Rain Your Parade doesn't look like a modern or a retro game. It doesn't look like a Metroidvania. Well, it's not. It's like Katamari Damacy. It's a fun game where you get to be an asshole Cloud. Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. And then people try it and go, oh my God, like I shouldn't have said no to this. Like, this is a great game. So.
Well, and for some of those people have that mentality, right? On like, oh, well, it's just not a good game. Some of the games that you guys actually put out, because they are existing as digital copies, you can play demos of those games too. So you can check it out and see what it's all about, and then go ahead and support Premium Edition and the developer by buying a physical copy.
Yeah.
So there's definitely ways around that.
We absolutely recommend, like, Wonderling DX is one that some people are like, oh, it's an auto runner. That's like a mobile game, and it's like, that's so deep. That game is so deep. There's so many levels. There's so much humor to it. Play the demo. Give it a try. And all of our releases, we try and make sure they're as complete as possible, if not completely complete. And thus far, all of our releases have been complete with DLC, whether it be paid or free. We want to wait, and we want to make sure that it's the most up to date we could possibly make it.
Yep.
Long live premium.
Long live premium. So let's dive into a few topics here. First one, it'll be super, super quick. This is more of a PSA for everybody out there. Capcom right now is doing a sale for 3DS and Wii U games. They're available at just $2.99. It's their final eShop sale. So Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life is the one that kind of covered this one. But just a few of the titles they have here: Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, older Phoenix Wright games, Resident Evil entries, Street Fighter, all $2.99 US. They've even got things in the Wii U eShop like DuckTales Remastered and Resident Evil Revelations going for this amount too. If you didn't get DuckTales Remastered, it's actually a fantastic game. At $2.99, you really can't beat it. So just a PSA out there. The store does close on March 27th. So take advantage of that while you can. I personally picked up Devil's Third, which is probably a terrible pickup, but it was worth picking up digitally so I could actually play it and keep my copy sealed. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, there's so much 3DS stuff out there that I've never played, or like I've never played a Phoenix Wright game.
So like, good.
I should definitely pick up some of this stuff, but I already don't play my 3DS. Like, why am I going to pick up a bunch of stuff for it? Like, I'm sure that a lot of these, I'm sure a lot of these are like games that you could probably get more modern like collections on Switch or something too. So do what I'm doing, people. Think about what you're gonna get.
There's a lot of games on 3DS that are never going to be re-released.
Like you even mentioned Phoenix Wright. The first 3 Phoenix Wright games are on Switch, but 4, 5, and 6 are not. So they're still stuck on those systems. So when those and not all of them have physicals. I think one of them doesn't even have a physical. So it's literally locked to digital only.
So there's some you got to really act now. Maybe that's the thing. Target the list. Go out and find out. Like what's $1 million that you would never pay for a 3DS game 20 years down the road. Now get it now digital and hope your batteries don't die.
Love it. All right. So moving on to our next thing here is Microsoft is confident it can get Call of Duty running on Nintendo Switch. This is Logan Plant at IGN that brings us this one. And I just kind of have to laugh that this is just such big news. Like, Yeah, we can definitely get Call of Duty running on the Switch. Like that's the big news this week for this and what's happening with the whole Activision acquisition. God, I always tongue tie that every week, and I say every week because we seem to talk about it every week.
It never ends.
It's never ending, but I'm strangely excited about this. Like, and the reason being is like the Switch hardware is technically not better than the Xbox One, technically speaking. So given how it runs on the Xbox One, I want to see how this runs on Nintendo Switch. I already saw how Apex Legends runs on Switch, and it's not pretty. So I really want to see how Call of Duty runs, especially with online, and how that works out.
Well, Apex Legend was also rebuilt, so it runs better now.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. And this is supposed to be down the road. They are supposed to be working on these exclusively. Not exclusively, wrong choice of words, but like as a develop for Nintendo consoles in the future, including the Switch, they're supposed to build it specifically for Nintendo and not port it in, which could be, a solution here for the lack of hardware on the console. But it is interesting to know that they're developing for the Switch, given all of the rumors, of course, have been swirling for the last 2-3 years on a Nintendo Switch too.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch install size, like that's kind of what they're banking on. It's like there's, so many millions of people that have a Switch that it's just like a faucet you can just turn on. But how many of those people that want to play Call of Duty are already playing it somewhere else and getting a better experience? Like the Switch portability, like that's the fun thing for me for people, or Switch exclusive things. But like nobody's gonna want to like 720p Wi-Fi around their house with blockmen shooting PS5 people. Like that's not really gonna happen, I don't think.
Well, I think it really depends on situations, and I was watching videos from a guy who was very big PlayStation guy, not as much Nintendo, but had a Switch and loved Doom. And I remember when Doom got ported to the Switch, Doom 2016, at first he was like, oh, like this is, whatever. And then he had a kid and he's like, I'll be honest, I'm with my kids so much that I can't be next to my PlayStation and all that, but with the Switch portability, I'm able to rock him and play Doom, and it plays great, and I'm able to continue playing, and like the light bulb went on, like, oh, that is a great opportunity for this. And that's just it. If you have an 8K TV, a PlayStation 5, you want to play Call of Duty with the big surround sound, you're going to do it. You're already doing it. But sometimes situations change, and you can't do that all the time. This is an alternative, and I think that's another reason they're banking on it, is because of that portability and that alternative.
I'm just now envisioning Barry, a dad rocking his baby as he explodes demons on a Nintendo Switch.
I picture that baby rocking too fast.
Yeah, right?
So, I mean, the biggest caveat here is going to be, can Switch or can Nintendo pull it off in the online space? Like, people don't want to have to pull their phone out to get on a different voice chat app and send out a bunch of friend codes to get the clan together at night.
Maybe as part of this deal, Microsoft will help Nintendo with their online.
Listen, Nintendo, we're giving you 10 years of Switch. We're also bringing Discord in the room. They're going to have a nice discussion with you, and we're going to bump those servers up. We're going to clean the whole house up.
Why don't you just come on over to Microsoft? Yep. We'll buy you.
Forget Activision. We're buying Nintendo
already.
Now. Yeah, they did.
Got laughed out of there.
I know, right? And now they're getting Call of Duty agreements. It's going to be interesting to see.
What you mentioned about new versions as opposed to ports is definitely risky, because it costs money to port, and it costs even more money to do a new version from the ground up. Now, we saw that a lot with the Wii, Call of Duty specifically, and a lot of that was because of the PS2 and the PSP. It allowed third parties to say, oh, I'm going to build a new version of Sonic Unleashed to put Sonic on the Wii, but we're also porting it to the PS2. We're also porting it PSP. So it made sense at that time. the only way that could be is if they port it to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and release older versions for the older systems in that way to try and make more money off of that build. And I can see them doing that. Like, oh, here's the Call of Duty on the Switch and the Xbox One, and that's that version. And the new Call of Duty has an Xbox One or Series X version that's even better. I can see them doing that, but again, it really comes down to money, and it comes down to what's going to happen after 10 years. But I really think when Microsoft is banking on a new Switch, like there's going to be a new Nintendo system within those 10 years. There has to be. So they're banking on that being more powerful to make it easier, I think.
I mean, if not, you could always build those in parity to work with, high-end phones too.
That's true.
Switch and a high-end phone aren't too far apart.
Yeah, it's really gonna suck is if Nintendo drops the ball again on this, with the next Switch.
It
with
depends
the Switch
if it's
plus
portable or not. If it's portable, it can't be as powerful because portability would heat up too much. They have those factors.
Yeah. No, I mean drop the balls in like, well, we got the Wii to the Wii U and now to Switch to whatever comes out,
It has to be a good name. It can't be confusing.
Super Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, even Switch 2, people would understand it's a 2. Numbers work. So
absolutely.
Xbox.
It's the new Switch plus U.
XL.
Super Nintendo Switch U.
Light
XL.
eye.
I like it. Well, we'll be hot into Nintendo Switch rumors here pretty soon, I'm sure. I keep seeing them pop up. I haven't talked about them yet, Ryan, with you, but
I remember me getting sick of talking about Switch rumors like a year or two ago.
Yeah, well, guess what? They're coming back. All right. And you know why they might be coming back is because the PS5 is starting to overtake the Nintendo Switch in Japan, at least for 1 month. The PlayStation sales were actually up 450%. Jordan Miller at Video Game Chronicle brought us this one. So, not a huge deal, but I think it kind of speaks to the aspect of, in Japan, the Nintendo Switch has been selling like crazy, and it's gotten to a point now where just recently, Sony was able to sell over 100,000 units more in a month. And so year over year, they're actually 450% higher in Japan, which is not surprising. I mean, you had supply chain issues and everything that happened the year prior. So it's definitely understandable that X amount of units were sold in Japan last year, around 65,000. And now you're seeing 366,000, or really 367,000 units moved this month. I will say that when you look at the best-selling games, though, within Japan, it is completely loaded with Switch games.
It's always Switch.
Yeah, Pokemon Scarlet Violet, Splatoon 3, Fire Emblem Engage, Kirby Return to Dreamland, Mario Kart 8 at number 5, and then the rest of it's like literally Nintendo Switch all the way through, except for Minecraft, Hogwarts Legacy, Hogwarts, Minecraft, and Gran Turismo 7 on here. Everything else is just Nintendo. It's kind of insane. So Japan loves Nintendo. That's something we all know, and they love PlayStation, but apparently not as much.
Yeah, I've been watching a guy on YouTube for a while, Spawnwave. He does good news every morning. Once a week, he usually reports like what's going on the Famitsu charts, just to see where all the new game releases rank, go over like, how the consoles are selling. So I've been watching this for a while, seeing, Nintendo always hitting top spot, most units sold. And then once PlayStation 5 started coming out, they were still selling more units, but Sony was making more money per unit. So technically they were topping that chart.
I just realized something in reading this information, and it just kind of dawned on me. You know how Japan recently approved the acquisition for Activision?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it make sense that they would? Because if you think about it, their only
Did I talk about this last week?
Yeah, but we didn't go into this deal. Their only big competitor is Sony. Microsoft has no footprint, or a very little footprint. And now with that relationship that they're developing for Call of Duty for 10 years, let's say Sony doesn't get Call of Duty for 10 years, and now you've got Nintendo rolling in with Call of Duty. Doesn't that take away Japanese players from PlayStation to go play that on the Nintendo Switch?
I don't think
I don't know.
It's not going to be off Sony. It's going to be still on Sony.
Well, yeah, you would think so. But are
They're
there?
I mean, they did the whole thing with Nintendo to be like, look, we're playing ball with everybody. This is how much we're gonna play ball with everybody. Is that we're gonna bring Call of Duty to Nintendo.
And
That's all it is.
I think Sony would be happy to let people play Call of Duty on Switch
No, they
rather
wouldn't.
than an Xbox, because
No.
those people already own a Switch there. Like, as long as they're not buying a third console to compete with.
It just makes sense that a Nintendo would be playing ball with Microsoft within Japan, obviously, for obvious reasons. That's
Yeah.
their biggest competitor with Sony. So, of course, they're going to be like, hey, Sony, screw you. Like, we're going to play ball with Microsoft because why not, right? It totally makes sense the more I look at that as to why Japan specifically. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter because, like, that affects all of Japan unless Nintendo's, like, lining pockets in Japan to be like, approve this right now.
I think
Who knows?
Nintendo's just sitting back and not even paying attention to it. They're like, all
They
right,
just
sure,
enjoy
whatever.
it.
Dude, they don't even pay. Like, come on. Like, we've seen their hardware. They're not paying attention to what's current. They never are.
As for the MPD numbers, there's another factor into why Sony beat out Nintendo this month. Besides the supply chain issues, besides the fact that a lot of people in Japan already own Switches. As you said, the Switch sales are definitely high, but there was one thing released in February that
Hogwarts.
well, not that I mean that was, but that's not what I was talking about. There's one thing released in February that can't be overlooked in terms of sales, and that's the PSVR 2. That
Oh,
came
yeah.
out in February, and if you want to play that, you need a system. So now that they're more readily available, there could be a group of people in Japan that want the VR2 and waited and bought a PS5 now while they could to play the VR2. I don't know the percentage, but I'm sure it's a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something I had considered. You know, I always imagined at some point they would make like a bundle to put both together for like $1,000 or something. But when the price finally came out, I was like, that's not going to happen.
Sony isn't smart about that. When the PS4 came out, if you remember, the PS3 was doing well, but it was on its way out, and the Vita was struggling. And they were pushing remote play with PS3 to Vita and PS4 to Vita. And I said when they showed off the PS4 back then on every podcast I went on, I said, if Sony's smart, they're going to bundle a PS4 with a Vita. Just do an extra bundle, $100 extra to get a Vita. It'll grow the Vita's install base. It'll keep the system going. Push that remote play, and they're golden. And you know what they did? They didn't do that, and the Vita died. So Sony is not going to be smart about bundling things up. They want to make as much money as possible.
I will say they did bundle a PS4 Pro and my Sony TV, so that got me to buy those two things.
Oh, that's two different
Was
divisions.
that Sony or Best Buy?
That was probably the Sony TV division doing that.
Yeah, it was probably, and they're smart. Yeah, the collector's edition box for that Sony TV was not worth keeping. Can you imagine if they actually had at the time, let's just picture this. If it was like Crash Bandicoot chilling on the side of a PlayStation 4 and hand on a Sony TV box, I wonder how many people out there would be willing to say, yeah, I'll keep that in my collection. 55-inch TV
hang
box.
it right on the garage wall.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Talking back to our conversation a while back on trying to throw away boxes, right? All right. Let's dive into our inflation deflation, Ryan.
Let's do it.
So this week we played Eldest Souls. Well, technically last week, and we kind of spoiled that last week. So we played Eldest Souls. It's developed by Fallen Flag Studio. It was published by United Label. I almost hit myself with my own typo on this one. I put United, so good thing I remembered United. It was released in 2020. It's a boss rush action game, Souls-like. Reception is anywhere from a 6 to an 8 out of 10, depends on where you're looking. I pulled this from Metacritic because it's kind of hard to find anything outside of like the website for Eldest Souls, like 8.5, 8, and just all the high scores. I wanted something that was a little more kind of balanced. Overall plot. So Eldest Souls is a unique boss rush Souls-like experience. In Eldest Souls, the old gods have broken free of their long imprisonment and are determined to wreak a terrible vengeance on all of those who defied them. Unleashing a great desolation upon the world, farmlands turn to deserts, rivers to dust. One final hope for humanity remains. Players must take on the role of a lone warrior with a single mission. And I would say, Ryan, that lone warrior is to destroy the old gods. So this is a pretty badass game. It's got that roguelite type of feel to it, but very much Souls-like in terms of what you're actively doing. You have this giant ass blade that you start out with. You don't have any, in what we played, because we got stuck obviously on the second boss. You don't have any enemies right off the bat. Of course, there are enemies built in, and your character has a number of different abilities that they're able to utilize. So one of them is like streaking across with like a flash. You get 3 of those. You have the ability to use Ryan. What was it? It was like a blood.
Here,
Blood mechanic.
Let me take this, John. I always
Go
cringe when
ahead,
you try
go
to
ahead.
explain game mechanics
Yeah,
stuff.
you are so much better at game mechanics than I am. Go on.
So, your character in this game, you really only have like a main action of attacking and dodging. You can charge up your attack. As it charges, you will lunge forward and deliver like a huge blow, but it also puts you into like this bloodlust mode where as you do damage, you will recover HP. So unlike a normal Souls-like game where you've got like your Estus flask or some sort of limited healing item, this is really get in, do the fight, get your health back. So it's all about the combat, dancing in and out of ranges of your opponent and trying to, you know, make sure that you're dealing enough damage. When you're in the bloodlust mode, you deal like 4 or 5 times the amount of damage as opposed to your normal little hits. So it's really a lot of, you know, trying to make sure that your timing is good. And like John said, with your dodges, you only get like 3 dodges. So like in a normal Souls game where everything is kind of on this endurance meter, you can attack as much as you want, but those dodges take a while to recharge back up. And that's kind of the main thing that we got stuck on, is like trying to fight this second boss, be able to avoid enough attacks, get into position, charge up, dash in, deal enough damage, and then get back out, while also trying to hopefully still have another dodge left when that next attack comes. It's a lot about learning patterns. The art style is just great, amazing. Lots of very nice detail in there. A lot of the, I don't know, just that it's got that oppressive, overwhelmingly large kind of opponent feel that you get in those Souls-like games. And it really came across, you know, a lot better, I think. Like I didn't really play a whole lot of Salt and Sanctuary, but like that was my first, like, here's like a 2D Souls-like kind of game. You know, this is a lot more akin to what I would like out of like a 2D Souls-like game, I think.
One of the things that you didn't mention was also a fighting style mechanic that's also incorporated into the game. So as you level up, you get different types of fighting styles with different abilities that can link up to that bloodlust. So
I didn't know
the one that we were able to unlock allowed us to do like a bunch of shards and like daggers that came in to deal extra damage. So if I don't know if you had noticed when we were playing, but I would do my charge up, I'd go in to heal my health, and then I would go ahead and unleash that specific attack to shoot up more health. And so that's how I actually got to the second form on that second boss. And of course, we were running out of time, and that second boss was absolutely bonkers when we got to that part where he changed into his other form, and it was like, just, it was insane, dude. Like,
yeah, he had like the Princess Mononoke like slug arm thing kind of shooting out at you.
Yeah, it was like all the tentacles would come out, and so we kind of figured out like how to get past that, but time obviously permitting, and I could sense if we had the time, we probably would have continued to try and beat that boss. And I think that was just a testament as to, you know, how much I like the game. The fact that I could sit back and say, I want to keep playing this. I just want to keep rolling through and try and beat this boss, because it became addicting very quickly.
Mm-hmm. I think Barry, that go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Barry, I have a feeling you're looking up the game right now.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
I think that there was like a skill tree or something, right? Like when we unlocked that ability, did we choose one ability and there was like a bunch more stuff on there?
There were other things that we could have selected from. Or I don't say selected from. I take that back. There were other things that are selectable, but we were, of course, put into that first tutorial one as a tutorial. Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right, so brass tacks on this. I don't remember what I bought it for new. I want to say it was like $30 new, and then shipping, so like about $35. But complete in box, it's looking like it's $25.34 right now. I put that it's at its peak, and I put NA on trending because it just came out on physical media. Same thing for loose, 2204 as a loose copy. I don't know how people are rolling around with loose copies yet. But if you were looking to get it digitally, you can buy it on the PlayStation Store and other stores for $19.99, and then it's also available on Steam at $19.99 as well. So, personally speaking, I'm going to be a little biased here, but I think it's $25.34 to own a physical game that we did not have to download any sort of firmware updates for. It was complete. It was good to go. I think that this game would be deflated. I think that it is worth that $25.34. It's certainly worth the $30. I would buy it again at this point based on what I've played, and it is one that I'm going to revisit.
Nice. I'll agree with that. I'll throw it in.
Nice.
I just checked my catalog. I actually have it physical because it came out. I have it on the Switch. I was like,
there you go.
I felt like I was thinking of the name. I'm like, I feel like I've cataloged that already. Like, so yeah, I have it. When I get the time, I have no idea. Too many games coming out this year, and a kid in the way, and the puppies. Like, I don't know about time, but it sounds great. Like, I was just looking it up in the footage, and like, it looks like a lot of fun. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
For $25-$30, no brainer.
Yeah, next time you want to, sit around and beat your head against a Souls-like, there you go, another option.
Yep, there you go. By the way, have either of you tried out what is it, Wulong?
Wulong? No.
No.
I need to. I've heard it's like insanely hard, and yeah, that's my type of game.
I've heard it's easier.
I go the other way.
Yeah, I've heard people say, but it's extremely difficult. Like, there's the bad reviews that you see on like Amazon and Best Buy and stuff, where people are like, "This game is too hard. Like, I'm not going to play it." I'm like, "All right, well, it sounds like my type of game."
Pussies. It's on Game Pass, I think.
See, I have too many games that I want to play that I don't have time to throw my head against the wall on a game that's too hard. Like, I like too many RPGs. Like, even Octopath, I'm like 80 plus hours in now, and I'm only on the 7th out of 8th story. So It's like, yeah, and there's only one, natural difficulty there, but I don't have time to throw my head against the wall. I just want to play and relax and enjoy. But yeah, I mean, glad you do.
I'm with you. I get it. I mean, there's something different about the fact that like you're just constantly dying in a game, and you finally get past that one boss. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just went through like an hour and a half of trying to beat this guy to finally getting past it, moving on. There's something satisfying about that. But I'm with you too. Like, I like easy games, and sometimes I'll play games on easy mode just to get through it, to enjoy it. And like, for God's sakes, I beat Super Lucky Tail last year.
Oh, I love that game.
It's fantastic game. I love it. It's a kid's game though, right? And it's great. It's fun. And so those are types of things I like to play as well. So I'll play anything, but I just love that challenge that comes with those Souls type games.
I like it to a point. Like, I beat Elden Ring, and I never thought I would, but I beat it. I got hooked into it. But one of the main reasons I was able to beat it is because the ability to summon a spirit to help you. And if I couldn't summon a spirit to help you, because I played the whole game offline. I did not play it online. So if I couldn't summon a spirit to at least help me offline, I probably wouldn't have beat it, because there were times where it would tank and I would allow me to roll away and use a potion and get back into the fray. So I like that, where it gives you an option, or you could use something to help you out, or you don't have to. And
that's why I think a lot of people don't like Wulong. I don't know about the whole summoning thing in the game. I haven't looked into it too much, but a lot of people are saying it's similar to Sekiro. In Sekiro, you can't summon anyone in. There's no spirits. There's no like NPC spirits you could summon in. There's no people you could summon in. It's just you parrying everything that you can to try and win. And it's easily my favorite game because of that challenge, and mainly because of the lore as well. I think it's just a fantastic story. So yeah, Wulong is on my list. Now it is, at least. Just kind of curious if you guys have done anything with it.
Just heard about it. That's it.
Yeah, just heard about it.
Cool. All right. Well, fun episode this week, Barry. Appreciate you coming on again. If you want to remind those that stuck around where they can find you.
Yeah, so you could find me on Twitter at Hawk Hellfire. You could also find Nintendo Fuse at nintendofuse.com, youtube.com/Nintendo Fuse, and Twitch Nintendo Fuse, plus at Nintendo Fuse on Twitter, where every other Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern we do our own podcast. So our next one is going to be this upcoming Monday, the 13th. And for premium edition games, you can go to premiumeditiongames.com, where you could pre-order games like Phoenotopia Awakening on the PlayStation 4, and coming up Music Racer Ultimate on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, as well as some of our previous Switch games that are still available for pre-order, and a bunch of Switch games that are available right now in stock that you could get. Plus, we got a vinyl on there, we got books on there, we got a bunch of other stuff. So check it out. You can find us on Twitter at Premium Edition 1 and everywhere else at Premium Edition Games.
Thank you, sir. And I forgot to plug us at the beginning, but you can find us at the GameDeflators.com, our out-of-date website. YouTube, we're on there. We've got our recordings that come up on there as well. So hit the little bell, subscribe, find some shorts. We're trying to do that as much as we can now as well. You can also find us on social media at The Game Deflators on Instagram and Facebook, at Game Deflators on Twitter. You can catch us on the podcast app you're listening to right now, as well as any other podcast application out there. If we're not on it, let us know. We'll try to be on it. And of course, leave us a 5-star review. I'm getting better at that every week, Ryan. Every week.
I know. I'm waiting for you to update the website and then still say our out-of-date website.
It's going to stay out of date. Yeah, it'll. Our YouTube. It was a miracle for me to get our YouTube up to date. But it is. We release a new thing every week now, so it's nice. All right. Well, that all being said, it has been a pleasure to have Barry on this week's episode. So thanks again.
The honor was all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So this has been episode 226 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Barry.
And thanks for... He's Barry. I always mess it up.
Every time I'm on here, we do that.
Every time we do that. So we'll get it one of these days.
One of these days.
On the next one.
You heard it here first, folks.
Thanks for listening.